Hello, lovely people. I'm Stella from Stella's Yarn Universe. Happy 2024. This code is my first project of the year, and I'm so thankful to the person who suggested this project. I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but I'm really grateful because it was so much fun. And so, if you all have any more suggestions for projects for this year, then please comment below. I love reading them, and I'll be sure to list them in the next poll so that we can see what I will be making next. And so, before we continue, I just want to mention if you'd like to use the PDF pattern to accompany this video, you can find the links below. I have it on Etsy and Ravelry listed for a small fee. It includes detailed written instructions as well as many photos of the process. I also have a Ribla version in case you prefer that. You can also use those written patterns on their own. You don't need the video at all, but if you'd like to crochet along with me, then let's get into what materials we need for this project. For this project, I'll be using cotton yarn in a DK or light worsted weight combined with a 2.5 millimeter hook, which is something in between a size C2 and B1. For most of you, I think a size C2 would be fine if you don't have the 2.5 millimeter ones where you live. If you tend to crochet quite loosely or you're new to crocheting amigurumi with making tight single crochet stitches, then I'd go for a B1 just to make sure your stitches are tight enough, and the equivalent is a 2.25 millimeter, I believe. So if in doubt, you can always change to a smaller hook, but for most of you, this will be fine, or the C2 2.75 millimeter. I'm just using two different colors. And as you know, goats come in all kinds of colors. Many of them are kind of cream colored. I'm using this beige shade here just to make sure you can see my stitches okay. If the color is too light, I find that sometimes it's difficult to see. And so I'm using the light shade for most of the goat, and then a darker shade, this nice light brown, I'm using for the hooves and the horns. And so you just need two different colors. I'm keeping it simple, not making it multicolored, although you can if you want to do that on your own. You don't have to use cotton yarn at all. You can absolutely use acrylic. I've seen some of your beautiful makes made in acrylic, so that's completely up to you. I just like using cotton yarn personally. And one of the most common questions, can you make this project in a larger size? Yes, you can definitely upscale it. You just need heavier yarn and a bigger hook. Just whatever the yarn brand recommends, I would go at least 2 sizes smaller when it comes to the hook to make sure you have nice, tight and neat stitches for your amigurumi so the filling doesn't show through. Also, just to let you know how much this is, it's the Rico Creative Rikorumi yarn, so that comes in 25 gram skeins that are 57 something meters long, and I already started using that, so it's probably only 20 grams left on that one. And yeah, I don't know yet how much I'll use, but I'll write it somewhere on the screen here so you know how much yarn you'll need for this project. And this one will only need a tiny amount just for the hooves and horns. So let's move on. We also need some fiber fill, of course. We need a yarn needle to sew on the body parts. We need a large-eyed sewing needle For embroidering, for the nose and mouth, we need black, or if you prefer dark brown, embroidery floss. Then we need a stitch marker. I'll be using 5mm safety eyes, but if you prefer, you can of course embroider the eyes. Highly recommend it if children are going to play with it, unless they are older children who don't take things in their mouth anymore. In general, my amigurumi aren't recommended for young children. They're too small, and yeah, I think it's too big of a risk. And then we need scissors. So without further ado, let's get started. We start with the legs, and so I'm beginning the project with the darker shade here with this light brown. And we start with the magic ring. So just use your preferred magic ring method. This always looks a bit awkward because I'm sitting on the floor. Then we make a small ring here. And then we can start with round 1, in which we make 8 single crochet in the magic ring. Now I'll place the stitch marker in the first stitch here, just to make sure that it doesn't get too tight, so we can easily start the next round, and then we can close the magic ring. In round 2, we only crochet in the back loops. And we make 8 single crochet, 1 in the back loop of each stitch. So only picking up the back loop here. Single crochet. Now in the last single crochet we change to the main color, whichever one that may be for you. Just have that ready here. So this is the 8th single crochet. I'm just starting in the old color, and then I join the new color. So then we can fasten off the old color and continue with the new from here. So in round 3, we start with 2 single crochet. Now we work in the whole stitches as usual. No more back loops. So 1, 2, and then we decrease. So now we only crochet in the front loops, and so we pick up the front loop of the next stitch and pull our hook down to get in the front loop of the next stitch. So now we have the front loops of the next 2 stitches on our hook. We pick up the yarn and pull it through, and then we pick up the yarn and pull it through the 2 loops. So that's the first decrease done, and we repeat all of these steps again. So 2 single crochet, and decrease again. And that's round 3 done. In round 4, we single crochet in all 6 stitches of the round. Going to remove this for now. Then in the next round, we start with 2 single crochet, and then we increase. So 2 single crochet in that stitch, and we repeat all of this once more. 2 single crochet and 1 increase. So 2 single crochet in this last stitch here. And the next round we again start with 2 single crochet, and then we decrease again. Like we did before in the front loops only. And repeat everything once more, 2 single crochet and decrease. In round 7, we single crochet in all 6 stitches. And so now the last round, round 8, is crocheted differently for the forelegs than for the hind legs. For the forelegs, we make another round of 6 single crochet now. And so you can repeat all of these steps to make the second foreleg, and then you can repeat all of these steps again up to round 7 to crochet the hind legs. And right now you can pause the video to do that, and next I'm going to show you how to crochet round 8 for the hind legs. So here we can fasten off now. We don't need a long yarn end. We can also shorten these yarn ends a bit. And so we'll make one more foreleg, and then you can repeat all of these steps, like I said, to round 7. And then we'll crochet round 8 of the hind legs together. So I finished the 2 forelegs and 1 hind leg. Now let's do round 8 of the hind leg together. So just finished round 7 with 6 single crochet. For the hind legs, we make 2 single crochet, and 1 increase, and then we have again 2 single crochet, and 1 increase. So our round has 8 stitches now, and that's the hind leg complete. So here again we can fasten off, and all our legs are ready to be crocheted on. But first we crochet the belly, and so I'm using the same color, the main color of the goat, and now we make a slip stitch to make a little loop on our hook. And now we start with 4 chains, sorry, 6 chains. 6 chains. Now starting in the second chain here, we make 4 single crochet, 1 in each chain. Moving on to the next chain, that's 2, the next 3, and the next 4. Now we have 1 chain left here. In here we make 4 single crochet, and so we make 2 on this side, 1 and 2 in the same chain. Then we turn everything around. Now we crochet in the other side of these chains. So we make 2 more single crochet in the same chain. I'm holding this yarn end out of the way. 1, 2. So now we have a total of 4 single crochet in the last chain. Then we make 3 single crochet, 1 in each of the next 3 chains in the other side. So this is where this goes, where you can see the 2 strands crossing over. Exactly on the opposite side of this single crochet goes another one. That's 1. Second one goes here. And the third one goes here. Now we have the other side of this chain here left, and in there we'll make 3 single crochets, so that we'll also end up with a total of 4 single crochet in the same chain. 1, 2, 3, and that's the first round complete. Our round has 14 stitches now. In round 2 we're going to increase quite a bit, so we start with an increase in this first stitch here. Then we have 3 single crochet, and then we have 4 increases in a row. Then we have 3 single crochet, and we finished the round with 3 increases. It's 1, 2, and 3. So now our round has 22 stitches. In the next round, we're going to attach the legs. And so we begin with the first hind leg. And so you don't need to do it this way, but I always like to think of the legs as pointing in this direction here. I feel like this hoof is kind of pointing that way. And that means where we have the jog here from the color change, that would be the back of the leg. And so I join the leg with this in mind. Now you don't need to take this too seriously if you haven't done or used this method before. I just kind of like how it turns out this way. So we're going to attach it or crochet it on this way. So the hoof is pointing in this direction. At least that's how it seems to me. And so I'm going to start crocheting on this leg at the inside of it, kind of the center inner side. So I turn it all around, and then I just start with one of these. Let's say with this. I'm starting here. Let's see how that turns out. The stitch before the last stitch. And so now we just make 8 single crochet all around the hind leg. Whenever you crochet in the last stitch of the round, you can give the end a little pull afterwards to make sure everything's nice and neat. And so that's 8 single crochet around the leg done. Now we'll continue with 8 single crochet in the body here. So starting in the first stitch of the body, we make 8 single crochet. So now maybe you know what I mean. Kind of this color change is more or less at the back of our goat, and then the hoof is slightly pointing forward in this direction. So now we can join the first foreleg, and for this I'm also trying to crochet it on in the right way. So if this is the back of the leg, then I'm going to start at the back slightly inward facing. So I'm just going to start crocheting it on here, and the first stitch of the round. So now we make 6 single crochet around the first foreleg. And once again, when you crochet in the last stitch of the round, you can give the end a little pull. Next we have 2 single crochet in the body, continuing with the next stitch here. 1 and 2. Now we can give the foreleg a little check to see if it's pointing in the right direction. I think that's looking good. And so we can now crochet on the other foreleg, and here I'm doing the same thing again, starting at the back but slightly inward facing. So maybe this time I go for the second one here, second stitch of the round, and we make 6 single crochet all around the foreleg. And then we continue with 8 single crochet in the body, starting with the next stitch here. First we can check and make sure that the leg looks right. I think that looks okay. Now we can go ahead and crochet on the last leg. So it's going on this way, and as with the other hind leg, I start crocheting it on the inside, so turning it around, and then kind of finding the center of the inner leg. I'm going again for this first single crochet of the increase that's here, and now we make 8 single crochet around the hind leg. And then we have 4 single crochet left in the round. Again, making sure our leg looks right. I think that looks good. And that's the round done. Our round has now 50 stitches, and in round 4 we'll start decreasing to shape the body. We start with 8 single crochet, then we decrease in the front loops only as we did before. And then we have 4 single crochet, and another decrease. Now we have 14 single crochet, then we have a decrease, 4 single crochet, another decrease, 8 single crochet, and then we finish with 2 decreases. And now our stitch count is down to 44 stitches. In round 5 we start again with 8 single crochet, Then we decrease. Then we have 3 single crochet. And another decrease. And then we have 12 single crochet. And then we have another decrease. And 3 single crochet. Another decrease. 8 single crochet. And we finished the round with a final decrease. So now our stitch count is down to 39. Before we continue crocheting, we can use part of these yarn ends to stuff them in the upper part of the leg. The legs don't need to be filled, but I found it helpful if the top part here, maybe the top third, is filled. That helps them hold their shape somehow. So you can try and use your hook depending on how it is shaped. Mine is a bit big, like the handle of my hook. If you have small pliers like this, you could use them. I didn't list them in the material and tool list because they're not essential. You could also use tweezers. Probably you have tweezers at home, so that might be a good alternative to stuff these ends in the top part, top third to top half of the legs. This way they'll hold their shape better later. When we fill the whole body with fiber fill, it will look a bit better in my opinion. Also this way you'll have them out of the way. So another thing you could do if you wanted to is close these larger gaps here in between the body and legs. I'm not bothering with it because later the legs will point downwards and they will barely be noticeable, so I'm not doing that. But if you wanted to, you could do that and use one of the yarn ends for that, because you'll only need 1 or 2 stitches to close the gaps. I've done that before, but after making several animals in this way, I just decided it's not really necessary. So that's done. Now we can continue crocheting the body, and I'm gonna let you go and do that by yourself, because for the next 3 rounds we just make 39 single crochet. So 1 single crochet in each stitch for the next 3 rounds. So you can pause the video here and hit play once you completed the next 3 rounds. Rounds 6 to 8, 3 rounds of 39 single crochet are done now, and in the next round we will crochet the opening for the neck. And so here we start with 16 single crochet, or plus minus 3, 16 I should say, because it depends on your tension when you crochet. So let's go ahead and make 16 single crochet, and then we'll see if it works out for you. So that's 16 done. Now let's see. We're going to skip the next 8 single crochet to create the opening. And so now it's important to see if these 8 single crochet are centered for you. So here we have the last single crochet we made, and then we'll skip 1, 2, 3, 4. That's already in the center front, so that's good. 5, 6, 7, 8, and here we will crochet in. We'll crochet in this stitch next. So these are the stitches that we'll skip, and so for me that looks good. They look centered. They should be in the center front. So if that's not the case, if let's say it looks like this for you after making 16 single crochet, then the skipped stitches would be these, and that's not quite centered, right? So then you would undo 1 stitch, so you'd only have 15 on this side. And so that's just something to watch out for. Once you found the 8 stitches that you want to skip and they are centered in the front, you can make 5 chains, 5, and then you skip the next 8 stitches. Start here in the 9th, and then we'll just single crochet in all the remaining stitches. So in my case that's 15. It depends on the number of stitches that you started with. Yeah, just checking again. Once you've done this, before you continue the round, you can actually check and see if that's in the front. If it looks anything like that, it's fine. It could even, for me, I could even do 1 stitch less. Let's see, these are the 4 legs. No, but but that it doesn't get better than that, so that's okay. So we just finished the round with one single crochet in each stitch. So in the next round we start decreasing. I'm trying to avoid making decreases here in these chains, and so you can, if you made 16 stitches here and 15 here, you can just follow along with me. If it's different for you, you may need to adjust the pattern slightly. What's important is just that you have 3 decreases on this side and 3 on that side. So you can kind of divide them, just make sure there are a few single crochet in between so they're not all in the same spot. But other than that, it's not super important where they go. And so I'm going to start with one single crochet, then we have one decrease, then 3 single crochet, and we repeat this 2 more times, a decrease and 3 single crochet. And once more, a decrease and 3 single crochet. So now we reach the chains, and here we simply make one single crochet in each chain. In the back loop of each chain, we want to leave at least one loop open here in the front so that we can later crochet the neck out of this opening. So we make 5 single crochet here, and then 3 single crochet starting here in the first or next single crochet stitch here, then we decrease, then again 3 single crochet, decrease, and once more 3 single crochet, and we finish with a decrease. By the way, we had 36 stitches in the round after creating the opening for the neck. Now we have 30. And so in the next round, this is now the same for all of us. We start with 3 single crochet, and then we make a decrease. and we repeat this 5 more times all the way to the end of the round. 3 single crochet and a decrease. So that's the round done. Now we have a stitch count of 24, and I'm going to start filling the body with fiber fill now. Of course, we can always add more through this neck opening, but still I like to start now just to make sure that everything's evenly distributed. So just starting, it doesn't have to be too full, so we can easily continue crocheting. I think that's good. Then we can always add more after each following round, and then also through the neck opening. So for the body, we have 3 more rounds to go. In the next one, we start with a single crochet, then we decrease and single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and now we repeat everything from the decrease 4 more times. Decrease and 2 single crochet and 3 more times, decrease and 2 single crochet. And then we finish the round with another decrease and 1 single crochet. So now we have a stitch count of 18. In the next round, we start with a single crochet again, and then we decrease, and we repeat this 5 more times, 6 times altogether. Single crochet and decrease. Okay, I'm adding more fill material now. I know we can always add more later, but I like it to be nice and filled before finishing the body. And so for the last round, we'll just make 6 decreases in a row. And so just trying not to crochet in any of the filling. It's better. I find it helps to squeeze the pull coat a bit to easily get into the front loops. And that's it. So now we can fasten off. We don't need a long yarn end. And now before I close the round, I really want to make sure that the body is nicely filled. So before that, I'm going to add a little bit more. Not overfilled, like it already looks quite chubby, but nicely filled. And we can still add more later, also in the neck, so this should be enough. Also, we want the neck opening to be nice and wide. You can stretch that a bit. So now we need our yarn needle to close the round and weave in the yarn end. So we'll just go through the front loops of each of these 6 stitches. Then we pull it tight. Now careful, if you use acrylic, don't pull too tight. A cotton yarn is way more sturdy, so don't pull too tight. That would be very annoying if your yarn would rip here. Now we go through the center of this last round here, just to flatten out the back. And we can go somewhere. I like to find a spot on the belly to weave in the yarn end. So pull that through, get nice and tight, not too tight if you're using acrylic, but tight enough so that the back is now nice and flat from the side. And now we can weave in the yarn end. I like to use this yarn end to close any gaps that are too big. Here I see some filler showing. I think I made a mistake when making the increases there, but that's not a big problem. Just closing this with my yarn end. And then we just cut it short, close to the body. Give it a little squeeze to hide it. And that's the body, the legs and the body of our goat done. Now we will crochet the neck out of this opening here. And so we need the main color again. And we join the yarn here in the stitch next to the first skipped stitch that already is crocheted in. So we go through here and I just pull a loop through. And I just hold this end in place. And then we can start with round 1. So we begin by making 1 single crochet in each of these skipped stitches here. And that's the first 8 stitches done. The 9th stitch goes here in the next stitch that already has a single crochet in it. So 1 single crochet goes in there, and then we turn our goat around, and the next 5 single crochet go in the open loops here of the chains that we made. So 1 in each of these. This here is the first one. And then we have a final single crochet in this stitch where we joined the yarn. So we go through here again, and this time we make a single crochet. So now our round has 15 stitches. In round 2, we single crochet in all 15 stitches. In round 3, we start with 3 single crochet, and then we make a decrease. And we repeat this 2 more times, 3 times altogether. 3 single crochet, and a decrease. In round 4, we just single crochet 1 in each of the 12 stitches that we now have. Okay, now is a good time to fill the head with fiber fill. We have 2 more rounds to go, but it's easier to do it now and make sure that everything is nicely filled here, also the chest. So we can just take small portions of our filling material, and I just like to push it in with the hook. I also want to make sure that this is as straight as possible, or as kind of smooth as possible. I don't like when there's a, when it looks like that. So you can also use this opportunity to even that out a bit. I'm adding some filling there so that the back goes over smoothly into the neck. So we can still fill the neck once it's done. The neck itself, just the base here should be nicely filled now. And so in the next round, we start with 2 single crochet, and then we decrease. And we repeat this 2 more times, 3 times in total. 2 single crochet and 1 decrease. Try that again, and once more. So now we have a stitch count of 9, and in the next round I just single crochet 1 in each of these 9 stitches. And that's it. That's the neck done. So here we need a long yarn end for sewing, because we'll use it to sew the head on later on. So that's roughly 40 centimeters, 16 inches. And now we can continue filling the neck. And now you need nice and small portions for that to fit them in this narrow opening. And that's definitely enough. So the neck is done. And now we can crochet the head. For the head, we need our main color again. Before we start, I'm just going to set aside 2 strands of yarn for the eyelids, so that we have them ready when we want to embroider the nose and mouth and then attach the safety eyes. And so I'm just leaving maybe about 30 centimeters, 12 inches, and we need 2, 1 for each eye. And I'm just going to set that aside so that we'll have it ready. And so we start again with a magic ring. And now we begin with 6 single crochet in the magic ring. Before closing the magic ring, I'm going to place my stitch marker in the first stitch again to keep it nice and loose, which will make it easier to crochet in. In round 2, we start with an increase in the first stitch here. Then we have one single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the next, one single crochet in the next, an increase in the next, and we finished the round with one single crochet. So that's our round of 9 stitches now. We start round 3 with making the little beard for the goat, and so we start with 4 chains, then starting in the second chain here we make a slip stitch, then we make a single crochet in the next chain and a half double crochet in the next chain. So yarn over, insert the hook, pick up the yarn, pull it through, pick up the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. And now we continue crocheting in the round, one single crochet in each of the 9 stitches. So this here is the first, that's round 3 done. In round 4 we start with an increase. We just need to crochet around this little beard here, so I'm just going to fold the round together just to insert my hook in this first stitch of the round. Here we just ignore the beard and just crochet over it. So I'm just inserting my hook there and then pulling the yarn tight because I left the loop a bit loose to make sure that I can get in there. So here we make 2 single crochet in this stitch to make an increase. 1 and 2, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then we repeat this 2 more times. Increase, and 2 single crochet, and once again. So now we have a stitch count of 12. In the next round we single crochet 1 in each of the 12 stitches. Now round 6 starts with an increase, and then we single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And we repeat this 2 more times. Increase, and 3 single crochet. Now our round has 15 stitches, and in the next round we continue increasing. But first we start with 2 single crochet, then we make an increase, then we have 4 single crochet, and increase again, and then another 4 single crochet, a final increase, and then we finish the round with 2 single crochet. So now our round has 18 stitches, and in the next 3 rounds we'll single crochet in all of these 18 stitches. So you can pause the video here and hit play once you've done that. So now is a good time to embroider the nose and mouth. I already widened the gaps here for the eyes just to imagine how it will look. But first, let's do the embroidery. I find that easier to do before attaching the safety eyes so we don't have them in the way. And so we need our black embroidery floss. I cut a 30 centimeter or 12-inch long piece of that. And then we thread it on our large-eyed sewing needle. And I'm using a sewing needle because it's nice and thin, so I can get it through the stitches easily. And also I want it to be pointy because when it comes to embroidery, it's best to stitch through the fibers instead of going through in between stitches. So this way our stitch can't move around a lot and we have more control over where it goes. And so I start here in the center, roughly the center of the magic ring, but like I said, I don't want to go through in between stitches, so I'm trying to catch some fibers so I'm not going through exactly in the middle, but yeah, somewhere here slightly above. It's looking good. Doesn't look like it's moving a lot when I go through here. Then just pull this through, leaving it long enough end to tie together later. And so now The beard is obviously pointing downward, and we want to make a shallow V shape. And this is going to be the nose. So I did this before and it turned out too big in my opinion. So I'm just making a small stitch somewhere here on the first round still. And then I'm going through to the other side so we can do the other stitch on the other side afterwards. And now I'm just making sure that this yarn or thread end that comes out here is centered in between each side of the needle, just so that the stitches will be equally long. If you want to make sure that they are equally long, you could also go through here, through the center again. I'm doing it this way now. And let's see, that's one side. And I think that's looking good. Now I'm going through the center again and through the roughly the same spot because I want to make this stitch bolder. So now we have both sides and that looks good to me. Now I'm going through the center again to the other side, roughly the same spot. The more often you go through the same spots, the more difficult to get the needle through. And if there's like a loop that's more loose than the others, I recommend getting the needle under there and loosening them all up to the same level, and then pulling the ends, all of them together again. Sometimes this helps to get them in order. So now one side is bolder. I'm going through the center again to make the other side bold as well. And then I'm going through straight downward like a vertical stitch to connect the mouth and nose. Sorry, I just try to align it with the beard to make sure that it's pointing straight downward. If you have any kind of pliers, they might be helpful to get the needle through there. And yeah, I should point it away from me. That's better. So that's the nose done. Now I need to go through this center spot here one more time. Just repeating this little vertical stitch. And now we can move on to the mouth. Just want to make sure that they both look equally bold. So now we're going to make the mouth. So for the mouth, I'll definitely make a longer stitch, kind of a little bit upward from the center point. Somewhere here, I would say. And here I go through the center again just to make sure that the other side looks at least similar. So that's how it looks from the side, from the front. I'm gonna go through here just to make sure that there's no gap in between both sides of the mouth. Just going through under this vertical stitch. And now I guess it's difficult to make it look symmetrical from underneath, but thankfully that's not so important. Yeah, I think that's all right. So once you're happy with your embroidery, all that's left to do is remove the needle and tie these two ends together. You can try and push the knot inside with your index finger and just make a double knot. And that's it. These will be hidden inside later on. And so now we can move on to the eyes. I don't have goat eyes, unfortunately. I tried to paint them. Maybe you've seen my recent short in which I made my own cat eyes. I tried it with the goat, but I didn't have the right color. I think an amber color would have been great, or so like a beige yellow tone, but mine was light orange, and that just looked too much. Didn't look natural enough, and we don't want a scary goat. We want a goaty goat. Or even a cute goat, why not? And so I'm placing the eyes here, kind of in line with the nose, and then I leave 3 rounds space in the back. I just make some space here so that I can get the safety eye in more easily. If you're careful with this, you can always undo it again if you're not happy with the placement of the eyes. I like to experiment with it a bit. So now on the other side, leaving 3 rounds. Let's see how that looks. Oh, I think that looks good. There's no need for experimenting this time. So before I secure the eyes, I'm going to make some eyelids. So now we need these yarn pieces that we set aside earlier. And now I'm using my yarn needle. So just thread these on the yarn needle, and now I'm just making 2 small stitches here to make upper eyelids for our goat. So I just leave a long enough yarn end to make a knot in the end, starting on the outer edge of the eye, and now I'm going through near the inner edge of the eye. Let's see how that looks. I think that's looking good. So now I just repeat all of this again, going through the outer edge and the inner edge. Just hold it in place while pulling. And that's our first eyelet done. So before tying the ends together, I'm going to secure the eye because that might change how the eyelet behaves. Maybe we need to tighten it further. So I'm securing this side first. Now I just give both ends another pull. And now I'm going to tie them together, making a double knot. Because we don't want them to come loose. If they come loose, they might slip over the eye. If that happens, you can always apply a tiny drop of glue, super glue or something, on the top. Move the yarn away, apply a little drop of glue, and then push it back in place. And that should do the job. But for me, it seems to stay in place without glue this time. And so now we repeat all of this on the other side. So that's the face done. And so now we can hide all of these ends. Maybe you want to first use some fiber fill to fill the nose, because we want to make sure that everything is nicely filled. Just making tiny balls like this, small portions. And if you have pliers, again, very useful. You can also use tweezers, I think. So just make sure everything is nicely filled. And then once the front part is filled, we can use all of these yarn ends as filling for the head. So now we can continue crocheting the head. And so in the next round, we start with one single crochet. And then we make a decrease. And we repeat these steps 5 more times, 6 times in total. One single crochet and one decrease. So before we continue, we can add some more fiber fill to the head. And then in the next and final round, we make 12 decreases in a row. I'm sorry, 6 decreases in a row, of course. We have 12 stitches and we'll make 6 decreases. Last chance to add a little more fiber fill if needed. And now we can fasten off. We don't need a long yarn end. We'll use the long yarn end from the neck to later sew on the head. And so we just fasten off and close the round. Now we need our yarn needle again. And as we did before on the back, we just go through the front loops of all 6 stitches. And now careful, if you're using acrylic, don't pull too tight. Now we give it a good pull. And now we go through the center of the last round. And somewhere on the bottom side, I'm going to weave in the and give it another good pull to even out the back of the head. And then we just weave in the end with a few stitches. Oh. Left it very short this time, the yarn end. Now let's crochet the ears next. For the ears, I'm using the main color again. and I start with 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in this second chain here, I'm going to make a half double crochet. So yarn over, going through the second chain from the hook, picking up the yarn, pulling it through, and then picking it up again and pulling it through all 3 loops. Now in the 2 remaining chains, I'm making 1 double crochet each. So yarn over again, picking up the yarn, pulling it through. This time we pick up the yarn and pull it only through the first 2 loops. And then we pick it up again and pull it through the remaining 2 loops. And repeat, yarn over, going through the last chain, picking up the yarn, pulling it through, picking it up again, and pulling it through the first 2 loops, picking it up once more to pull it through the remaining 2 loops. And then we fasten off, leaving a long enough yarn end for sewing. And then later we're going to fold the base of the ear when sewing it on, so we have a cute little ear. So now we can repeat all of these steps to make the second one. The tail is made in a similar way. So I'm using again the main color. And this time I start with 5 chains. Again, I start with a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Did I say half double crochet this time? I hope so, because that's what I'm doing. And now I make a double crochet in each of the remaining, oh, here it starts, 3 chains. So 1 in here. And that's it. Then we fasten off, again leaving a long enough end for sewing. And now we'll crochet the horns. And so for this I'm using light brown, the same color I used for the hoops. And I'm starting with 8 chains. So now in the second chain from the hook, I'm making a slip stitch. In the next chain, I'm making a single crochet. In the next one, I'm making a half double crochet. And in the remaining 4 chains, I'm making a double crochet. So we have 4 double crochet. And now we fasten off with an extra long yarn end because we needed to sew the horn together as well as sew it on later on. This is probably plenty. Probably didn't need to be that long. And so now this is the right side, and we turn our horn on the wrong side now. And we need our yarn needle. So taking it sideways, Now we're going to fold it the wrong side, facing inwards. And now we're just going to sew it together. So going through that chain that's corresponding with the lowest stitch, and this way we work our way up. So I'm going through the full stitch here and through the chain, trying to get the other yarn end out of the way. And the more you pull while sewing, the more curled the horn is going to be. So you can use that to adjust the amount that the horn is bent. And I just make mine slightly bend. And this way we go all the way to the tip of the horn. Maybe not quite to the tip. I think one more little stitch here is going to be enough. We don't need to go through the slip stitch there in the top. Can just squeeze that together. That's it. So that's a nice looking horn. Now we go through the center. So we want to bring the yarn end back to the base of the horn, and this is another opportunity to bend the horn as much as we like it to be bent. So if you don't pull tightly, it's quite straight. The more you pull, the more it bends. So I'm just going to leave it like that. It also, if you pull too much, it just gets pulled together. So maybe try not to pull too much. And that's it. So now we can start assembling our little goat. So once you made your second horn, we can go ahead and sew the horns on. We need pins for that. I always forget to mention in the beginning. And so I'm just trying to find the placement first and pin them both in place. Then I'm probably going to remove one of them to sew the other one on. I just want to make sure that the placement is right first. So I'm just leaving this one round approximately from the eye to the horn, and then the horn is more inward facing than the eye. Let's see how that looks when we do it for both. I think that's a good placement. And so now we can take our yarn needle again and start sewing. Just removing one of them again to make it more easy. And now I'll just go all around the base. So I start with picking up a small loop on the head. I try to make the stitches as small as possible. And then I go through the base of the horn, just picking up one little loop. And then again finding a little loop on the head. Going all around, and again not try, we want to pull tightly but not too tight, because then the shape of the horn will be affected. And after every 2 stitches or so, I just pause and see how it looks, if it's pointing in the right direction. On my last trip, I think I lost my really nice yarn needle with a bent tip. So I'm using this one now, but that one is much better because it's narrower around the tip and bend. I highly recommend those. I'm going to get a new one soon. And then once you moved all around and everything's looking right, you can just bring the yarn into the bottom side here, and this is where the neck will be. So if you bring the yarn ends here, you can later hide them inside the neck. So I'm doing the same with the other yarn end, and I'm not hiding them as I sometimes do, so I'm not bringing them through at the same spot, but at a spot close to the previous one. And this way I can tie them together and not hide them inside the head, but then I'll just cut them short. And if all goes to plan, they will be hidden inside the neck. So now we repeat all of these steps to attach the second horn. So once the horns are sewn on, we can sew on the ears as well. So I'm going to fold them at the base so that they look something like that. And again, pinning them in place first to make sure we're happy with the placement. I think they go below the horns and more toward the back of the head. So let's see how that looks. I think that's a good placement. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with this ear And again, same method that I used for sewing on the horns. I got too frustrated with the yarn needle, so I'm using the more pointy one now. Let's see if that works better. So I'm just gonna work my way around and try to have both sides together so that the ear is a bit folded. I think that looks cute. This is very fiddly. Not my favorite thing to do, but that's okay. It's gonna be worth it. And so since this is the same color as the head, I'm just going to weave in these yarn ends. Weaving in the other end as well. And that's our ear attached. And then we'll repeat all of this on the other side, of course. So the head is done. And now we can attach it to the body. So I'm just going to cut these yarn ends a bit shorter so that I can hide them inside the neck more easily. And let's see how that works. That's looking good. So I'm trying to align the back of the head with the neck so that this is more or less even. Just getting in one pin on each side. And now I'm just going to look at it from different angles just to make sure that it's a good position. But I think that's looking good. And so now we can go ahead, again using our yarn needle. And now I just go all around the head, making small stitches, just catching one loop on the head. And then I go through the next stitch of the neck from the outside in, Even if it's only the front loop, that's fine. You can do as many rounds as needed to attach the head securely. So I think this is already in my way. Once in a while, I'm just checking to make sure it all looks okay. You can also go through the same stitch twice if you want. Just want to make sure that the head doesn't look tilted. So I'm picking a stitch higher up, so that this comes down towards the neck. I hope that works. That's a bit better. So now I'm going to weave in the yarn end, and I'll at the same time close these little gaps here at the base of the neck. Before you do that, if you want, you can of course do another round of attaching the head, but I think mine is firmly attached, so that should be enough. And here I just want to kind of mimic a single crochet stitch. So I'm going through here, through these two loops. Maybe one by one with this big needle. And then I go here through the same spot where I started, and then I do the same on the other side. So going through there, and now this gap has become a bit smaller, and so I'm doing the same here, just cheating in a little extra fake single crochet. Okay, in this case I'm just going through here. And through the same spot. And then I'm going to weave in at the end. So now all that's left is the tail. So I'm going to pin that centered on the back. Yeah, kind of aligned with the back would be good. And I'll just go back and forth between the body. So going through the body here. Oop. And then through the base of the tail. And then again through the body. And through the base of the tail. And I think I can already weave this end in, and then I'll do the rest with the other end. Maybe I'm going to close these gaps while I'm at it. And the last yarn end. Just going through the body here at the same spot. And that's it. Our little goat is complete. Thank you so much for making this suggestion. I'm really glad that I made this. It was so much fun. Please keep the suggestions coming. Just comment below, and I look forward to creating a new poll to see what we'll make next. In the meantime, I might try my hand at the Emperor Penguin, who received the second most votes. So we'll see if I succeed at that. But yeah, if you have any more suggestions, please comment below. And if you would like the PDF version of this pattern with detailed written instructions, as well as many step-by-step photos of the process, you can find the link to my Etsy listing and Ravelry listing below. I also have a Ribla version. And other than that, thank you so much for crocheting along with me. I hope to see you in my next tutorial. Bye!